Nothing will wreck your confidence faster than comparing yourself to others, like your brother or your cousin or that guy on YouTube who says he retired at 38 years old. So what do you do? How do you put things together? And can you retire with only $1 million? Let's talk about it this week. Welcome into Phil's Tax Hacks and Other Retirement Facts with CPA and personal financial specialist, Phil Putney. Now let's get rolling with today's show. Hey everybody, welcome into the podcast. Thanks for hanging out with Phil and I as we talk investing, finance, and retirement. And Phil, the number is the number. It used to be $1 million to retire. Now it's not enough. You see, videos left and right. How can I retire on $1 million? I can't retire on $1 million. My cousin said he retired on $1 million. Whatever. Right. So let's talk about this a little bit because we had a question that had come in and it was kind of interesting, kind of inspired the episode a little bit.
Sure.
So let me read this to you real fast and then we'll jump in and talk about it. The guy says, I thought I'd done a good job saving over the years, but it seemed like I'm probably behind where I should be. My brother has nearly $2 million saved. And it seems that some of my colleagues at work are also, ahead of me. But my husband and I are barely over $1 million mark. And now that we're in our 60s, we're worried we shouldn't get caught, that we aren't going to be able to get caught up. I said guy a minute ago, but it was from a lady, so I apologize. So people do feel this need to compete, or that not even necessarily compete, I guess, but hey, if everybody else is doing this, am I in bad shape?
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's funny. It's often comes up with, new prospective clients of, so what do you think? Do I have enough?
Okay. So what do you see from,
how do I compare to, other people that you see in retired? Does I have enough? And I think a lot of it comes back to there used to be an advertising campaign around what's the number, right? So everyone's focused on the number. The number used to be $1 million was kind of the number. Everyone wanted.
Well, it's sexy. It's round.
Yeah. But I mean, obviously with inflation and what we've gone through over the last 10 years, $1 million might not be enough, but it might be. It really depends on your specific scenarios. So
when people are asking you, is it comparing to what you see from other potential clients that come in? They're not asking about the money. They're asking for reassurance.
Well, they're asking for reassurance at the end of the day.
That's really what it is, right? It's a question about confidence.
Their reassurance is the money, right? They're looking at it the wrong way because they're looking at it just the money. Oh, I have $1 million. That's my target, which, hey, it's good to have a target, because that way you've got a goal to work towards, but your target shouldn't be what your brother-in-law's or your, colleague at work or whoever, some guy on YouTube you're following. It shouldn't be what their target is because their scenario is different.
Yeah.
So your target, and that's what I always tell clients is the number is relative to your specific scenario.
So define your target, right?
Right.
So what are some things we can do to define that for ourselves?
Well, I mean, it comes down to first getting a clear vision of what retirement looks like to you. What do you want to do in retirement? What is your ideal retirement? And I mean, within reason, everyone would like to travel the world every year. I mean, do all these crazy things. Okay, well, maybe that's not going to fit. But what
lifestyle,
you really would like to do from a lifestyle standpoint, you have to have that nailed down to begin with. So hey, this is where we're going. This is what it's going to take. Then you can start working backwards from there, looking at the income sources you have. So Social Security benefits you have. Both spouses have been relatively high earning. So they've got high earners. So they have a maximum Social Security benefit. Well, that's going to go a long way to filling kind of that gap in need in retirement.
Okay.
So they might not need quite as much money, versus if it's been primarily one spouse that's been working and accumulating, they have the maximum benefit. Maybe the other spouses stay at home. And again, nothing wrong with that, but their Social Security picture is going to look much differently. So they're going to have to have significantly more saved to get a very similar type of income.
So we want to look at fixed expenses, lifestyle, then fixed expenses, longevity conversations, what's that look like?
Yep. Look at longevity, plan for that, but then come back to the income you have to meet these different needs, pensions. That's another thing. I mean, if you fortunately have pensions, maybe somebody else doesn't. So if you've got a pension, you're not going to need near as much as somebody that doesn't. So there are many, many things that play into this picture, versus just, I need, X amount.
Well, that begs a good question. Are you behind or are you just assuming that you are?
Well, right. And a lot of us, everyone likes to compare, right? I mean, it's just
Sure.
human nature, trying to meet match what the Joneses have next door, keep up with the Joneses, so to
Right.
speak.
Right.
Everyone likes to compare. And I don't say it's a bad thing, but don't completely derail your retirement just because you're thinking like this
Yeah.
individual is that, oh, I only have $1 million and I've been talking to my colleagues and they have 2 million. I might have to continue to work, another 10 years. Well, the real question is, do you know? Have you run the numbers?
Yeah. Do you guys
For
live the
your
exact same
specific
way?
scenario?
I mean, yeah.
Right. I
So
mean, maybe their lifestyle is a much different than yours. Maybe they have like a second home and, they do a lot of travel. Maybe yours is a little bit more simplistic. You don't have as many of those type of expenses built in. So your lifestyle is more cost efficient, put
yeah.
it that way.
Yeah.
So you've got to come down to, don't worry about everyone else. What does it look like for you? What is that desired lifestyle? What are the fixed expenses you have? Do you have the mortgages still, those financial commitments, things to plan for? Have all that, work the numbers out first. Then you come back to say, okay, now that we know those, now that I got my income, now we can settle on, okay, how much do I need to kind
Gotcha.
of fill the gap? And at the end of the day, that's what it comes down to, is not, my colleague has 2 million saved and I only have 1 million. I don't think I've got enough. And you might not.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
but until you run the numbers, you don't know.
The Tax Smart Retiree is your comprehensive guide to mastering tax efficiency for a flourishing retirement. You will find indispensable advice and actionable strategies designed to enhance tax savings, maximize Social Security benefits, protect against market volatility, and develop a customized retirement plan. To get your free ebook, click the link in the show notes of today's episode and download your copy of The Tax Smart Retiree right now.
It reminds me of a story of a friend of mine a couple years ago when the housing market was really at its peak, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, yeah, I think I'm going to sell my house. And I'm like, didn't you just buy that thing a few years ago?
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, but my neighbor's selling his because he's getting top dollar for it. And he's like, our birthday is like a week apart. We're the same age. He's got this, and this. So I think I'm going to sell mine too because he's really good. And I'm like, you're going to base selling your house on the fact that, okay, fine, the market's high, but just because you and your neighbor have the same birthday week and you have similar lifestyles and you want a capital. And I thought I was like, dude, please go talk to somebody and get all your scenarios checked out before you do. I mean, if you want to move, you want to move, but
Right. But
don't
if you're
let that,
selling it just because the neighbor sold it and, hey, that looks like a good idea.
Yeah. He's making like 300,000. I want to make 300,000. And I was like, yeah, but what's it going to cost you to get a new place?
Well, that's the big question there is, okay, that's great. You made this amount of money, but what's it going to cost you to get into another place?
Yeah. So
I'm sorry,
anyway.
you're in the same market, but
So it just kind of reminded me of that. But let's just assume for the sake of the argument, okay, so somebody like that, they do come in, they sit down, they do find out, okay, yeah, I actually am behind, right? So what are some catch-up strategies? What's some items we can list for people?
Well, I mean, at that point, you've got several options. Number one is save more, right? So you've got to adjust your current lifestyle to be able to put more away to maybe hit the number you need. Now you have a target, hopefully. Before you were kind of looking at the comparison of, my colleague has a 2 million, I only have 1, so I think I need this extra million. Well, maybe it's only, another 500,000, or maybe it's only a couple 100,000, whatever your number is. Mm-hmm. But now you have a target and start to save more.
So are we maxing out our account possibilities?
The 401ks, IRAs, various retirement accounts. Or, if you've already done that, maybe you just start saving in some other non-qualified investment vehicles. But you start accumulating funds that can be used in retirement.
Well, especially if you're over 50, you got the catch-up contributions. If you're in this window coming up, Phil, we've talked about from the OBABA, where 60 to 63, you can pump a little more.
Some more options in there. So use all those to help get more money into retirement, which again, at the end of the day, that's great. To get that though, you've got to then make that hard decision to adjust lifestyle to get more funds put away.
Well, it doesn't have to mean like wholesale massive changes though sometimes, Phil, right? Sometimes small reductions will do it.
Yep, not necessarily. Okay. But again, this is where having a plan, and hopefully your advisor has laid this out to say, hey, you're short. If you do still want to retire at this age with this type of lifestyle, then we need to hit this target. Here's some options,
Okay.
And then looking at your numbers, what it really would take to do that. Are we talking about 2 years, 3, 5, 10 years before you hit that? What's your timeline to hit that? Then that translates back to how much of a lifestyle adjustment it's going to take to make up that difference.
If you've been going conservative in your portfolio, is it worthwhile to look at maybe taking a little bit more risk?
Well, I mean, it's a discussion to have. I mean, the concern I always have there is that at the end of the day, people are comfortable with what they're comfortable with, right? And
Sure.
you don't want to talk somebody into something way more aggressive than what they're comfortable with. And maybe that's what the plan needs. And yeah, in the long run, it would make it work better. But you don't want them to get into, Independence Day and be down 20% and panic and say,
Yeah.
I knew this was the wrong decision. Get me out, because now
Yeah.
it's totally destroyed
Okay.
what you're trying to accomplish.
So even if it really does make the plan work a little better,
Yeah.
you got to take that component of
absolutely.
can you sleep and deal with that kind of in there.
Right, because it doesn't matter if it's going to make the plan work better. Again, all these are things to come back to the client. It's the client's decision. Yeah, is it a recommendation? Sure. I might recommend, if somebody's very conservative, to say, hey, it probably would make sense to take a portion of this money. Let's increase the aggressiveness a little bit.
Okay.
We can get this potentially higher return here. Here's the downside risk to that, though. We are going to have times, or there has been historical times, where it's been down, 20%. How would you react? Is that something you're okay with? Have that discussion ahead of time versus saying, hey, to make the plan work better, we need to be more aggressive and we're going to get this kind of return, and not go through that scenario, because then they get there and they're like, oh, you never told me this. And then, it destroys the plan. So,
Okay. Of course, you could always delay retirement. If 67 was there, maybe it's 70, right? Now, I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be like, oh my gosh, I'm never going to retire. But again, we're talking about, if you were in that place where you truly found out that you were behind, just some things to maybe, consider tweaking. And little tweaks to each of these could maybe get you there instead of massive tweaks to one.
Right. Well, and that's the key is it doesn't have to be all in one of these scenarios. I think of them like levers, right? These are different levers we can pull or push to make the plan work a little bit better. And it can be a combination of several of them. Maybe delaying retirement. Sure, delaying it, a year or two. And oftentimes what kind of fits in with that is it doesn't have to be just completely retired. Maybe you're going to retire from your current career. And I've had several clients do this, but they're going to work part-time for, 2, 3, 4 years, maybe as something you enjoy more, doesn't have as much stress. It's not anywhere near the paycheck, but it can make the plan work. So yeah, you retire from your career at whatever the age is, but then you're going to continue to work part-time at a lower stress type of job, something you might enjoy a little bit more.
Gotcha.
For a few more years, just to, again, help relieve some of the pressure from the plan of distributions you might have to take. And lifestyle is the other one.
It is the other one. Yeah.
Maybe you make a little bit of an adjustment to lifestyle. Maybe your vision was, we're going to spend $30,000 a year traveling every year for the first, 15 years. Well, maybe that's not going to work.
Well,
so drop it down and it's every other year, or it's, 15,000 a year. Or there's a lot of things. Again, it's a matter of running the numbers with your advisor to have a plan to say, what do we need to do to make it work?
True. And, it might be more expensive living in Novi, than it is living in, Moose Jaw in the Upper Peninsula. So
right. That's a discussion to have too. Yeah. Maybe it's the location you're going to live. There's a lot of factors that go into it. So
at the end of the day, right. Because people do get wrapped up in the $1 million or now 2 million or whatever the case is. Mm-hmm. Just find out first, what do you need to drive? What do you need to drive the car here? Because to your point, a couple with 2 strong Social Securities, maybe 1 strong pension, or even 2 pensions, you might not even need anywhere near $1 million, right?
Yeah, I have some clients that they both have have had a high-paying career, both have high Social Security benefits, and they both have pensions as well. They don't even need any money saved. They have more coming in now through those than they did when they were working.
There you go.
So in that scenario, the $1 million is irrelevant because they really don't need it. To match the lifestyle that they had.
But if you've been self-employed your whole life and you don't have a big Social Security, you don't have a pension, then you maybe do need to have more put away. So, right. So you've got to sit down. We're all learning this. You get to 50, you get over 50, you start thinking, man, I better get off the pot here and get some things put together.
It's coming quicker than I think. So
yeah, so do it. Get onto the calendar, reach out to a financial professional near you. If you want to reach out to Phil, he's here to help. We've got links in the show descriptions below. His number's been on screen. The website's been on screen the whole time. Or if you're checking this out on audio form, again, check the descriptions below. But of course, I'll give it to you if you'd like. You can just call 248-888-7530, 248-888-7530, or go to philstaxhacks.com. That's philstaxhacks.com. And don't forget to subscribe to the podcast on Apple, Spotify, and of course, YouTube. Hit that thumbs up and notification button so you catch new episodes when they come out. And Phil, my friend, thanks for breaking down the $1 Million Conversation. As always, I appreciate it. We'll see you next time.
Take care.
Phil?
Investment advisory services offered through AFS Wealth Management. The content of this program is provided for informational purposes only and is not a solicitation or recommendation of any investment strategy. Investments and/or investment strategies involve risk, including the possible loss of principal. There is no assurance that any investment strategy will achieve its objectives.